TradeSquare is Australia's first business-to-business marketplace connecting people, brands and organisations into this diverse ecosystem in a unique global landscape. Through pivoting, transforming and reshaping, Australian businesses have an opportunity to create the model for the future that aligns with the world's needs and leveraging the power of a collaborative approach. Through the TradeSquare podcast, we will bring together dynamic, diverse and thought-provoking leaders from business, government and organisations to have conversations to further enable new thinking for the future. Welcome to TradeSquare, Australia's leading business-to-business marketplace. I'm Catherine van der Meulen, and joining me today is Renee Noble, founder of Connected Code. How are you, Renee?
I'm going well today. Thanks for having me on the podcast.
We are super excited to explore more about your world, but let's start with, who is Renee Noble?
That's a really hard thing to define. I like doing a lot of different things. I like technology. I really like solving problems and building communities and connecting people with each other and making ongoing sustainable solutions is what I'd say, and helping people build their own solutions and create their own pathways into the futures that they want. And hopefully that can help everyone build a better world that's more inclusive and creating more opportunities for everybody. So yeah, I'd say I'm a person who loves teaching. I've always loved teaching. And when I found out about technology and coding, it felt like a superpower. And now I'm really involved with the women in tech space. I've been working on the Girls Programming Network for a long time now and making that an accessible community around the nation. And now I'm, started my own business and trying to really make an impact in the technology education space in schools and community groups across the country.
So tell us about the work you do at Connected Code.
So yeah, I've started Connected Code about a year ago, and it actually spawned out of the work that I was doing with the Girls Programming Network. So about 7 years ago, I got involved with GPN, as we call it for short, and it was teaching about 40 girls to code in a little Sydney workshop each term, once a term, for a day. And it was really great to get involved with that, and I finally felt like I connected with people like me in technology. And then, shortly after that, I actually ended up running that program. I put my hand up to run it temporarily, as I thought, but it turns out it was a long-term gig. So I was running this in my spare time, and I made a few tweaks. I thought it was a short-term gig, so I made some tweaks that we'd been saying we should do for ages, and then it really started to boom, and I took that national, and we had this problem where too many girls wanted to learn to code, so we couldn't fit them all in the same room, in the same computer labs. We only had about 180 spaces, and there was more girls who wanted to do it than that. So I went, this can't be localized to Sydney, and took that across the country, and now we have about 1,500 girls learning to code a year in about 8 cities, COVID pending. So the reason I started Connected Code was girls would come along and they'd say, hey, this was an awesome day. I really loved this. How can what can I do until the next workshop? Because it's 3 months till the next workshop. And a lot of the time I'd just be like, well, there's a couple of things you can do online, but there's no real community groups and things you can do at school that are like that. So you'll have to just wait till the next workshop. And then at one point I realized, hey, actually, why don't I just make there be something that they can do until the next workshop? I had developed a huge network of educators and universities and professional tech contacts around Australia. I developed these systems for creating engaging material that helps beginners get started but extends experienced student programmers. I had all of these great tutors who's been volunteering all this time. I'd love to get them into schools, and I had this tech background that I thought it would be really great to get that experience into schools. So I started Connected Code, and as a business does in its first year, you work out what direction you're going to go. And my idea was to create these project-driven learning opportunities for technology and going cross-curricular with science and other applications to show kids why tech's really exciting. And then to sell those materials and those school incursions and sell teacher PD opportunities to really enable Australia to deliver great tech education within schools, and also start up code clubs and other school holiday programs and other opportunities for kids to do coding and excel in it in their own time as well. So that's kind of the aim, and I'm really focusing in on those in-person opportunities, because I think that's a really great way to get an in-depth understanding of technology. And there's a lot of teachers out there who are really struggling to do it because we added it to the national curriculum, and there's really not a lot of teachers out there who know how to code. So I want to give those kids opportunities, give the opportunities for teachers to learn alongside the kids, and hopefully, make schools an awesome place to learn to code and create a great technological future for all the kids who want to get involved after they give it a try. Yeah, so that's pretty much what we're doing.
Very cool. And so over the last 12 months, obviously since you started, how has the business grown and evolved to create more impact?
Yeah, so I guess it's been an interesting year to start a business, as I said, that is focused on those in-person opportunities because of COVID and lockdowns and things like that. So it's really just getting started, but I have had a few opportunities to get in different in-person places. Firstly, a great opportunity came up, and I've been working at PLC Sydney as a teacher in the classroom. And I didn't set out to become a teacher when I left my job to set up a business, but sometimes opportunities just open the door, and I'm super glad that I took this opportunity, even though it took me away from doing my core business as I would have thought of it, because I've been in the classroom actually seeing how kids learn in the school context, because I come from an outreach side of things. So yeah, just developing my own understanding of the school context has been immensely useful, and I'm glad that I've taken this time to do it, because a lot of the stuff I might have made otherwise I probably would throw in the bin now, getting rid of half of it because it's just not suitable to do within a classroom if that's the way you're going to teach it. So yeah, there's a lot of things I've learnt from that about my methodology and involving teachers in the process and the kind of outcomes they're seeking to tick off, that they need to tick off for their reporting. And then just, really focusing in on those in-person opportunities by doing, working with the school. I've created a lot of connections, connecting with their extension centre. We've got some things booked in, was supposed to have already happened, but sadly due to the lockdowns, I didn't get a chance to, but I've been, have some opportunities to get primary kids creating musical technologies out of devices that I've been working with a partner organisation, which I'll talk about in a second, creating embedded systems to make their own toilet paper roll clarinet or pianos out of paper and cardboard and these electronic kits. I'm really learning about electronics and resistance and how you can use that for coding your own things. So yeah, I've got those things going on and some incursions locked in for next year with some awesome ideas around getting kids going on scavenger hunts using coding up their own embedded systems, probes and detectors, so they can complete a scavenger hunt, get the clues and put all that data together, because there's a lot in the curriculum around working with data and understanding the meaning of it and collecting it and analyzing it. And then also creating awesome user interfaces, which I think often people think of user interfaces and they go, oh, that's websites and what it looks like and what color it is and where this button is. But there's so much more to it I think we can get kids doing. So we're going to be building some escape rooms out of electrical components and, using Caesar ciphers and other, hidden messages to get people to complete the kids' own individual escape rooms, which is really exciting. But also in addition to that, I've been working with some partners. I've been working with the AusSTEM Foundation. Shortly after starting Connected Code, a friend of mine was like, I've been working with the AusSTEM Foundation. They have this new device called the Kookaberry. It's a little embedded system. If people are familiar with the microbit, it's a lot like that, but microbit on steroids is what I'll call it. And it's just a little educational tech kit where you can plug in different components and you can program them all. It's really versatile. So I've been working with them to give them advice around preparing materials, and in exchange, they've been letting me borrow their Kookaberries. And I've been just realizing there's such a great Aussie-made tech invention that I'm really excited to use in the classroom, and I've been testing out and I'm planning to use in all of these different situations. And I've been using them teaching my Year 9 students at the school as well. So yeah, those are kind of some of the things I've been doing. I've been doing some outreach even with the University Conservatorium of Music, teaching their music teaching cohort or how to integrate music education and technology. So there's just a really wide range of things. I'm realizing that the kind of project-based learning things I'm doing are really going to be applicable to.
So many things that you can apply that knowledge to, which is awesome across a broad spectrum of verticals. So how have resilient, dynamic and resourceful individuals played a key role in working towards transforming that component of education in Australia?
So yeah, I have a lot of great friends in the edtech space who I've worked with previously in previous jobs and through the Girls Programming Network. And yeah, really seeing how people are affected by the space that they're in and looking at it and how we can change it and creating, I would say, creating communities of resourceful people is a key aspect of it. And yeah, building that network up to resources and maybe you'll know someone who has a connection to a specific job or to an educational resource or can give you advice on how to progress your career in education or in technology and how you can go about taking the next step in that is a really key aspect of it, I would say. So yeah, there's amazing key players in this area making education, especially tech education, more accessible. Whether they're on Twitter or they're doing workshops or they're finding ways to make it approachable because a lot of teachers are giving coding a go for the first time. So yeah, just being online to answer questions and being a friendly face, I think is really a great thing people are doing in this space and what I aspire to be doing all the time.
And so the role of technology has been evolving exponentially. Why is technology and innovation such an important part of organizations for the future?
I think with technology, we're just unlocking so much potential. There are jobs, a lot of people are concerned about their jobs going to technology, to robots and things, but there's a lot of it that can be done and can free up people to do the things that people are best at, which is talking to other people and thinking about human-centered solutions. So by creating technologies that assist people in doing their jobs, we free them up to do the more interesting parts that computers really can't do. So I think that's why, thinking of new ways to use technology and innovating in that respect is really important. It's not about replacing people. It's about altering their job and highlighting their key characteristics as a human and not as a machine. Machines are great at repetitive things, great at things that, you tell them to do, and they have some capacity in doing AI, machine learning aspects. But at the end of the day, where we are now, machine learning is not going to be having a robot do your entire job. It's going to be you being the boss of, algorithms and programs that are helping you do the best job you can do and make the biggest difference and biggest, broadest impact, because technology really helps us spread whatever we're doing further and better and make it more accessible to everybody.
And so you've been focused on project-based learning, differentiated learning, and involving girls in tech within schools. Can you share more about those?
Yeah, so I feel like project-based learning is a really great way to get more people involved, especially girls. I find with girls and a lot of people who feel alienated from technology is that they're not about tech for tech's sake. They want to see what they can do with technology and why it's applicable to their own lives and their own situations. So in creating these project-based learning opportunities, they're getting to see how they can build something themselves and put their own creativity into solving a particular solution that they care about. So giving them the scaffold to build some sort of chatbot or some sort of embedded systems device, but then why do they want to build it and putting that flavor on it? And with the differentiated learning aspect, it means that people can take things at their own pace. But in classrooms, it's really difficult as a technology teacher when some of your kids have been coding for years and some have only just started, last week. So giving these alternate pathways that all ultimately get to the same goal, same product, but can have different implementations, which is the great thing about technology, is that there's a lot of different ways to do things and they all help you work on different aspects of learning that technology. So you can take a detour, you can add a few extra features that aren't going to change the overall outcome of the thing, but will make it feel a bit different, add some different creative aspects and let more advanced students work on those specific skills while the other kids go on their beginner's journey. Things that I really like focusing on. And I think it makes it a lot more accessible for everyone who wants to get involved, because at every step of the way, I'm focusing on getting kids feeling like they've achieved something. So every step of the process, every chapter of a project workbook is, you've accomplished something, and let's work on that to make it better. You don't have to do 10 chapters and finally something comes together. It's all about small steps, small achievements, and then keeping those kids engaged with it, so they keep on going even after this project is done. Because at the end of the day, we want more women, we want more girls, we want more every kind of person involved in technology, because we're building a future for everybody, and we want everybody who is going to be affected by that future to be involved in the process of designing that future. So that's why I really want to get more people of a diverse background involved in technology from a young age.
And so you've recently been working on an embedded systems project. Can you share more about this and the key outcomes?
Yes. So I've mentioned a little bit about my music makers, I'll call it, embedded system project, which I started out with when I went off to the Conservatorium of Music. And I was like, what can teach? What can teachers be working on? These are music teachers. They haven't done programming before. What can I give them to do in an hour? And I created these little musical devices, and they're using all sorts of weird and wacky components. They're using moisture sensors, and you're dipping them into different solutions, or rubbing them with a sponge to make weird sounds, or you're making musical helpful apps we're making a metronome or things like that. And so using components in ways that people wouldn't necessarily think of them has really led me to go, hey, what can we actually start building? That, because kids love to be creative and use things in weird ways. And I've even been doing things with Play-Doh and creating electric circuits with those and connecting them up to the Kookaburra device, and creating a Play-Doh xylophone that uses resistance to create different musical notes on the Kookaburra device. So there's so many different ways, and I feel like they're really engaging ways to get kids going hands-on with the technology. I've taken the small bits and pieces that I did with the music teacher cohort, and I'm taking them down to year 2 to year 6 level, where they can be creating projects where they can use these skills and build their own instruments using Play-Doh and using foil and cardboard, and then taking them on a journey from doing the most basic things, from press a button on the device, on the Kookaburra, it has a bunch of buttons on it, to make a sound, to how can we make a simple circuit when you press a button so it will make that sound, to making a more complicated device using measuring resistance of Play-Doh or of other components to give you different interesting sounds, and how you can combine them to make your own instruments.
Wow, so many interesting things in there. So why are the learnings of STEM so important in engaging students for the now and also for the future?
I think especially these days, with social media and things, kids are really engaged with how the future is going to look for them and affecting their own future. And a lot of them are thinking of how they can become entrepreneurs and make changes within society, rather than going with the status quo careers of the past. So I think giving them these tools, STEM is really about making things. And I think a lot of entrepreneurship is about, what can I deliver to the world that will make a difference? And to do that, you often need to be able to make things. And technology and engineering and science and maths components that come into that are so key to having that creative understanding of the world, looking at a problem and breaking it down and seeing how you can address the different aspects of it and how you can build those aspects into a solution for a particular audience. So I think kids are really interested in the space, and I think we need to show them how STEM ties that all together so they can build something for their future and create their own future and change the direction of where we're going in this world.
So this year, TradeSquare has been connecting to women who choose to challenge in their roles. How do you choose to challenge?
So I actually did a talk on this for the Australian Taxation Office for International Women's Day, because this is the wonderful theme of the year. And when I first thought about the theme in preparing for that talk, I was like, oh, is this just another like getting women to like step up and, stand up for themselves and not getting men to do it? But I kind of, looked around and reflected on that and turned it into, well, actually, how is it challenging the environment they were presented with and like standing up for what you believe in? It's not always about standing up for yourself, but it is standing up to the system. So it's not always just you in a meeting being like, oh, someone talked over me and I need to, stand up for myself now. It could be standing up by taking it to a higher authority or talking to your manager outside the meeting. And I think I choose to challenge by making those options, vocalizing them, because I really want everyone to know that those are options and that you should be taking them. Whether you're a man or a woman, you should be taking those options when you see injustice in the system. And I really believe, like, as a person who's dedicated a lot of my life to the advancement of women and girls in technology, area that is very lacking in women, I find it is my duty to be a person who can stand up and do those things. And it's not fun and it's hard, but I think if I can't do this, then how can I expect Sally, who's a 19-year-old university student, to stand up for herself? So I go out on a limb and I'll happily call out anybody who's underpaying people or who's doing wrong by a group of people, whether it's illegal, quote unquote, or just immoral, and people are benefiting off doing things to groups of people that they really should be supporting. I will be there to call it out however I can, and really offer a hand up to the women in those situations and say that's not okay. So yeah, that's kind of how I approach choosing to challenge. But I kind of see choose to challenge not as an action that I do in any individual moment, be like, oh, I just saw an injustice, I better choose to challenge. It's really just a way of being that I am challenging this situation, and that's what I'm doing for my life.
Well, thank you, Renee, for sharing your world and your wisdom with TradeSquare.
Thanks for having me. It's been fantastic talking to you.
For more information on TradeSquare, head to www.tradesquare.com.au and support Australian business economic recovery and growth with a collaborative approach to the future of business.